138.21. Okay. We have two atoms of potassium. This is the amount of potassium on the periodic table. So if you take that, plus there's only one carbon, so 1 times the mass of carbon. There are three oxygen atoms plus 3 times the mass of oxygen atom. The total is the amount of the total compound. Any questions? So now let's talk about mass percent composition. So in a compound, so for example, this compound, this mass of the compound is attributed to the potassium. This mass is attributed to the carbon. This mass is attributed to oxygen. So that means we can determine the percent mass for each element in the compound. Okay, and that's what we call mass percent composition. So if we're to calculate the percent composition for each element, we write the mass, the total mass of that element over the total mass of the compound times 100%. If you want to make the example of an example. So let's do an example. It says octane has a molecular formula of C8H18. What is the percent composition of carbon and hydrogen in octane? So first things first is we're going to add the total mass of carbon in the formula, and there are 8 of them. So we take 8 times the mass of carbon, we get 8 times there are 8. Then the mass of hydrogen, there are 18 hydrogen atoms, so 18 times the mass of hydrogen. And that's the mass attributed to hydrogen. Then we calculate the total mass of the compound, which is the sum of these two, and we get 114.26. So this is similar to what we did in the previous slide. So with this information, now we can calculate the percent mass for carbon, which is equal to the total mass of carbon over the total mass of the compound, times 100%. So here's the mass of carbon, that's calculator. Here's the total mass of the compound, times 100%. The percent mass of carbon is 84.09%. So you see here that we keep the two decimal places around the first state actually, because it's also so we take that out. So we have four state states, so we include four state states in 5%. Then the percent hydrogen is the mass of hydrogen, which is 18.18 over the total mass of the compound times 100%, and that equals 15.91. Now, because the carbon and the hydrogen make up the total compound, the sum of the percent masses has to equal 100%, right? Because it's the total percent of the compound. So you can always double check that. If we were to add 84.09 to 15.91, we would get 100%. So by mass, right, so we're just considering the mass of octane, 84% of that mass is carbon, and then 15.91% of the mass is hydrogen. Okay, so let's take an example. Calculate the mass percent composition for propyl acetate. There's the formula. less carbon. So there are 5 carbon, 5 times less carbon over the total mass of these compounds. The molar mass of hydrogen, there are 10 of them over the total mass, and the molar mass of oxygen, there are 2 of them over the total mass. So yeah, I think so let's finally move on to the mole. So like I was mentioning in the previous slides, the atomic mass unit is important, right? It tells us about the true mass of an individual element. Okay, and so that atomic mass unit is equal to 1.66 times 10 to the minus 24 grams, which is fine, right? But we need to relate this to larger, right? Even in the lab, when we measure weighing, even just a pinch of some salt, you know, this mass will not do, right? So we need a way so that we can measure the mass in grams. So in order to do that, we work with a unit that's called a mole, abbreviated MOL. So what happens is that this number, known as Avogadro's number, as we know, okay, it's 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. It's really a constant, okay? You don't have to memorize it. I'll give it the value. So this number is the number of particles, either atoms or molecules or ions, in 1 mole of any substance. So that's how the mole was determined. Because first, if I remember correctly, the original experiments first determined Avogadro's number, and then they decided, like, okay, this number is constant, so we will have this number represent unit of a mole. So 1 mole of an element contains that many atoms, 1 mole of a molecular compound contains that many molecules, and 1 mole of an ionic compound contains that many formulae. So we'll look at what that really means in a higher case. Okay, so the best way to understand how the mole is used chemistry is to look at a similarity between the mole and the dozen. Okay, the dozen, which is a very common unit, represents 12. Okay, and so if I tell you guys that I have a dozen donuts, you guys instantly know that I have 12 donuts. If I tell you that I have half a dozen, you know ask. If I tell you that I have 2 dozen, I have 20. Right? Simple, because we just don't know the dozen, it represents 12. It's a number that we can easily do calculations in our head. Right? The mole is pretty much the same concept. Right? The only difference is that it represents this extremely large number that we cannot hold for atoms. Okay, we need a calculator for this. But it's the same idea, right? If I tell you that I have 1 mole of donuts, okay, I have this many donuts. If I have a mole of carbon atoms, I have this many atoms. If I have a mole of oxygen molecules, I have this many oxygen molecules. So the mole, 1 mole of whatever represents that amount, just like 1 dozen of whatever represents 12. Likewise, if I tell you that I have half a mole, I have this number divided by 2. And if I tell you that I have 2 moles, I have this number multiplied by 2. Alright, so now let's talk about terminology, because it's actually important. So when it comes to elements, if we have 1 mole of any element on the periodic table, the way that we represent that quantity of 1 mole is we say Avogadro's number, this many atoms, okay, because we're talking about elements, okay? So the terminology matters. Does that make sense? So if we're talking about elements, and I have a mole of any element on there, I have this many atoms of that element. Okay, now, if I'm talking about a molecular or covalent compound, a compound that's made up of only nonmetals, right? So water, helium, vitamin C, sugar. If I have 1 mole of this substance, then what we say is that we have this many molecules of that. Okay, because the unit for a molecular or covalent compound is a mole. Does that make sense? Right, different terminology. Now, if we're talking about ionic compounds, if we have 1 mole of an ionic compound, now we say that we have this many formula units of that ionic compound. Or I can also say I have 1 mole of sodium ions, and I would have this many sodium ions. The key here is that the mole, 1 mole represents that quantity. And whatever the substance is, the type of particle is going to differ because it's going to be based on what kind of compound or substance it is. So Avogadro's number, we are going to use it as conversion factor quite a bit in this chapter. Okay? So Avogadro's number can be written as inequality, where 1 mole is equal to 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd particles. So here, you can write atoms, molecules, formulations, whatever you can see. So because this is inequality, we can write a conversion factor, and we can always write the reciprocal. Okay? So these are the conversion factors that we can write for Avogadro's or atoms of iron. So we know that we want atoms of iron in our answer. So once we're going to solve our conversion factor, we want atoms of iron in the numerator. And then we write the mole in the denominator, and then now we multiply 4 moles. So that's just one way to approach it, to let the units guide you, or you can just write the quantity 4 moles, figure out what conversion factor you need to give you the atoms of iron. So the moles of iron cancel, and the answer is the atoms of iron. So we multiply 4 times 1100. So just a suggestion, guys, whenever you are using a Windows numerator calculation, put it in front of your numerator calculator, because it's a very large number, and the calculator sometimes doesn't know how to distinguish that, and so put it in parentheses. So they want to do this one with me. So we have 4.00 times, and then I'm going to open parentheses, and I'm going to type in the numerator calculator, 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd, and I'm going to close the parentheses, and I'm going to hit. So my calculator says 2.40 of these, I write off, 2.41 times 10 to the 24th. Okay, so here you're going from moles to atoms, or particles. Now let's go in the reverse direction. So here it says converts 3.01 times 10 to the 24 molecules of carbon dioxide to moles of carbon dioxide. So here I'm going to start this. So there's a rule that we can use that it will come up in these slides, but I think mine's a little, I just want to include it now. So let's get to this section here. So we can convert between moles and number of atoms. So back and forth, but we can just convert between moles, number of atoms, molecules, number of moles, formula units, number of moles. Okay? And we do that by using algebraic numbers. Okay, now, if we want to convert from moles over to the particles, we want to multiply by Avogadro's number. If we want to go from the number of particles over to moles, we're going to divide by Avogadro's number. So, if we look at our previous example, I'll show you how this works. So here we are going from moles to atoms, right? Yeah, moles to atoms. So if we go from moles to atoms, we're going to follow the arrow at the top. And what does it say? We multiply the moles by Avogadro's number. And what should you do here? We multiply the moles by Avogadro's number. Mathematically, you see how that works out? And this will always be true. So long as you know like what you're converting from to. Okay, now in this example, we want to go from molecules to moles. So now we're going in the reverse direction, right? Now we're going from molecules over to moles. So this tells us that we're going to take molecules and we're going to divide by Avogadro's number. And that's what we see here. We're going to take the molecules and we divide by Avogadro's number to get our answer. Now we still write our conversion factor, but we know that Avogadro's number is going to be in the denominator because it's telling us that we have to divide by it. So right, it's two ways of approaching the problem. You can just write your conversion if you know if you understand and you're like, okay, I know how to convert this, I'm just gonna write. But if you're remember, then you can use a little math to guide you on how to write your conversion factor. Does that make sense? Oh, and then for this one, so the way to plug this into your calculator, we're gonna write that number in parentheses divided by this number in parentheses. So it means you should have it. You're knowing how to use your calculator. So I get 4.998 rounded off to 5.00. Super close. If you let the answer as 4.998, that would be fine. I'm not that big of a fan. Okay, molar mass. So the molar mass is going to be easy because we already looked at the mass on the periodic table, right? The formula mass. So the formula mass represents the mass of one individual atom, okay? But in the lab, right, we don't work with one atom. So what we're going to do now is instead of calling the mass the formula mass, we're going to call it the molar mass. Okay? Why? Because that mass on the periodic table represents the mass of 1 mole of that lithium carbonate. There's our formula. So we want to add the mass of the lithium. So it's just 1. Oh, sorry. It's 2 lithium because carbonate is like 6. Sorry. So it's 2 lithium atoms. So we think the mass of lithium, which is 6.94, or 6.941 times the number of this place, and we'll multiply by 2, and we get 13.88 grams of lithium. Then we have 1 carbon, so 1 times the mass carbon. Notice that now, instead of our unit being mu, before the unit was right, atomic mass unit, now the unit is grams. So it's just the same thing, we're just not changing the unit. Okay, and then for oxygen, in the formula we get 3 oxygen, so 3 times the mass of oxygen on the periodic table, and we get that number. And we added both these. And so this is now our molar mass of lithium carbonate. So let's write this down for, so here we did it for an element. Now we can do this for an ionic compound. So 1 mole of lithium carbonate represents 0.002 times 10 to the 23rd formula units, right, terminology. Formula units of lithium carbonate. And it's also represented by 73.89. So the idea is the same, right? If I weighed out in the lab 73.89 grams of lithium carbonate, it would be 1 mole of lithium carbonate, and in that quantity there would be this many formula units of lithium carbonate. So now we can start to build our mole mass, right? Just like we have here. We have mass, we have moles, and we have parts, atoms, formula units, whatever the case may be. So now that we have molar mass, now we can convert between moles and mass. So that's what we're going to learn next. Okay? So the conversion between the moles and moles is molar mass. Okay? Now, if we want to go from moles to mass, we multiply by molar mass. If we want to go from mass over to moles, we divide by molar mass. Also, the true units of molar mass are grams per mole. Okay, so far we just calculated the mass, but the molar mass has units of grams per mole. And the reason is because these units allow us to convert between grams and moles. So we'll move that. That's what I have on board. And, yeah. You mean right here? Yeah. Okay, so just depending on what the question says. If the question says 1 mole of carbon, then we're talking about atoms of carbon because it's an element. If the question says 1 mole of lithium carbonate, this is an ionic compound, and so we say formula units. If the question is saying 1 mole of water, which is a covalent compound, then we would say moles. Right, so that is the same roadmap that I have on the board. Okay, so now we're converting between grams and moles. Okay, let me write grams here. Those are the actual units. And to be pretty straightforward, right? Because I told you what we're going to do. So let's look at an example. So it says how many moles of sodium chloride are present in a 305 gram sample? So for these questions, guys, once you have the roadmap, which I'm going to give you the roadmap on your cheat sheet, so write it on your videos. But so for a question like this one, right, we figure out where we're starting and where we're ending and follow that arrow. Pretty straightforward, right? So how many moles are present in a certain number of grams? So we're going from grams to moles. Everybody see that? So we're following this lower arrow. And this lower arrow tells us that we are going to take the grams and we are going to divide it by the molar mass to get moles. So what does that look like? Well, first of all, it can be molar mass, which you should be able to calculate now, right? It's sum of 1 sodium plus 1 chlorine on the periodic table, so that's 2 there. And the units are grams per mole. Okay, so for molar mass, go from mole square. So we're going to follow the arrow at the top that tells us that we're going to multiply by the mole mass. So we start with our moles. We multiply by the molar mass, so grams are going to be in the numerator because we want grams as an answer, and then moles will be in the denominator so that the moles can cancel out. So, okay, how do you plug it into your calculation? So then I start to say, just like, okay, so I think we should, and this time to ask me, so this is what I will tell you guys, okay? If you get it in your brain, like, oh, I know exactly what I need to do, and I'm just going to calculate it and write the answer on the exam. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if you show your work, and your work is correct, and you just accidentally wrote the wrong number on your calculator, if your work is correct, I will give you most of the points, because I know that you're doing just, you know, the calculator there. So you should show your work as much as you can, is what I think. Does that answer your question? Yeah, I mean, the calculator is just a simple calculation. 1.20 times 64.44 equals, and you can just write the answer, right? 70.1 grams. But if there's no work, and the answer is wrong, I don't know if you understood, I don't know if you need a problem or not. Okay. Alright, so now let's, moles and particles. Yeah, we did. We did. We can skip this one. We already did. Alright, so what happens when we want to go from here all the way over here, right? So now we're going to be doing two sets, okay? So this problem says, what is the mass in grams of 2.53 times 10 to the 23rd iron atoms? So this is, we have to figure out where we are starting and where we are ending. So where are we starting? We're on the road here, right here, correct? And we want to end up where? Correct. Yeah. So that means we have to do two steps. And again, what I'm going to tell you on the exam is do the step by step, right? It's just beneficial for you to do that, right? Alright, so you can do it in two steps. You can do this step first, and then get the answer in moles, and then go for moles squared. Some students do that, and that's totally okay. Or you can do it all in one fell swoop. So we start with the atoms, 2.53 times 10 to the 23rd, and you guys tell me, when we go this way, what are we doing? Divide, right? We're following the arrow at the bottom. So we are taking our number of atoms, and we are dividing by Avogadro's number. So dividing by Avogadro's number. So that cancels atoms, and that will give us moles. So you can stop there and write the number of moles, and then do, I think, separate step, or you can just keep going. Right? So now we are over here on moles. So what are we going to do next? Hit this down here. Correct. Yes. So right there. So we're going this way, right? So we're going to multiply by the molar mass. And so that's the next step. We multiply by the molar mass. Doesn't say anything of denominator. So any questions? So guys, one more thing I wanted to say. When you're setting up your conversions, write units. Okay? I know it's so I didn't know units, but it's helpful for you, and also it'll help you make sure that you're calculating units accordingly. Okay, so that's it. Right, moles, grams, number of formula units, what the compound is. Right, yeah. I'm gonna start this section and then work with that. Okay. Okay, so because of the law of conservation of mass, we can do stoichiometric calculations, right? And that's because, for example, if you look at this reaction tells us that for every two, we're going to say moles, because we're no longer talking about atoms, right? So we're changing what we say. 2 atoms plus 1 sold per atom, and that's true, produces one of these, but now, we're talking about large amounts, right? Amounts that, can actually be weighed out in the lab. So, if we weigh out 2 moles of silver, 2 comes from the coefficient, plus 1 mole of sulfur, 1 comes from the coefficient of the sulfur here, then we get 1 mole of the silver sulfide. So 1 comes from the coefficient. and 47.9 grams of silver. Now, because the balance equation sets the proportion, the ratio of reactants, we can use the coefficients, the 2, the 1, and the 1 to do calculations. Right? Because those are like that. And that really is straight geometry. So, for example, in straight geometry, we could say, well, if I start with 50 grams of silver, how many grams of sulfur do I need to react with that much silver? I can calculate. Or if I say, if I want to end up with 100 grams of silver sulfide, how much sulfur would I need? Or how much silver would I need? I can calculate that based on the balance equation. So this is kind of the same thing that we saw in the previous slide. So let's say we're looking at this reaction where hydrogens react with oxygen to produce water. So we can think of it as a molecular ratio if we're looking at molecules. So we have two hydrogen molecules reacting with one oxygen. We know that these bonds all break, and then two water molecules are. Here we're representing it as the mole ratio. The mole ratio is based on the coefficients. Okay, so 2 moles and 1 mole. So when we look at an equation like this size, we say 2 moles of hydrogen react with 1 mole of oxygen to produce 2 moles of water. That's how we use approach. And because we can represent this in terms of moles, we can calculate grams, or we can calculate number of molecules. The different types of calculations can vary a lot. So, any questions? Okay, so I think we'll stop there. We'll come back and get ready to speak the metric calculation. And now your problem solving for today. You're doing good, guys. You're doing good. One of them is nodding. Even I'm like, oh. Making metric files, making problem solving, sometimes those things